The Turbo and 2K Show.
What's going on, 2K crew? It is that time of the week again, and as you can see, it's just the two of us. We'll get into why. Actually the response from having Christian on last week was really good.
Mm-hmm.
So he did send me a text and wanted me to kind of explain everything why he isn't here. But you know what? We'll hold the fort down while our new superstar is not with us. But everyone, thank you for joining us. We got a great show planned for you today, like the title says. Mel Kiper? Who the hell needs Mel Kiper right now? You got Turbo and 2Ks over here. We're gonna break down our. We don't have an official top 5 list for you guys and gals tonight, but I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 different top 5 lists here, 2Ks, that we're gonna go over our top 5 prospects of quarterback, running back, wide receiver, edge rush, and corner. And then after we debate or kind of give you our thoughts on all of those, we're going to go to our mock draft. However, for the sake of time, we're just going to do the top 10. Cool with you?
Yeah. This is probably the most excited I've been for an NFL draft in a long time. I mean, you always kind of get into it and you're excited about what your team's going to do. But this year, like, there's so many different things that can happen.
Oh, yeah.
Just in the top 5 picks.
Oh, yeah. Especially when you get those, get the stud quarterbacks, because the last year's quarterback crew was pretty good.
Mm-hmm.
The year before that was terrible. But now, I mean, this is a skill position heavy draft. I mean, we've got great quarterbacks from top to bottom. Probably going to see the most wide receivers we've seen drafted in the first round in possibly ever. And to be honest with you, 2Ks, there's not a lot of defensive studs out there.
No.
And there's some offensive line depth, don't get me wrong, but I can't wait to break it down with you and the 2K crew. For those of you that are checking us out over on YouTube, I appreciate each and every one of you. Our views are growing each and every week, so thank you for that, as well as our sub count. So go ahead and hit that subscribe, hit the like, comment on this video so we can get a conversation going. And a quick point to those watching over on Facebook. Yes, go to the YouTube page, because I don't know how much longer we're going to be able to stream to the page. And if we are able to, I won't be able to bring your comments up like this one. Like Cody says, Dame is going off.
Yes, he is. I was just watching that. That's kind of been the every playoff game to this point that I've watched has just been a blowout. Not very exciting.
But that's because there's only like two teams per side that don't make it into the playoffs with all these play-ins, and then I'm confused. It's like, all right, well, you can lose a play-in game but still make the playoffs. So yeah, like you said before we went live, welcome to the next 3 months of playoff basketball and hockey.
Yeah, they have to find a way to make this a quicker process of getting to the semifinals and getting to the championship. It's just, it takes way too long. And I mean, people that are not, you have your NBA fans that follow it all year long, but with a lot of sports, you get people that kind of on the outside looking in for playoffs. They're interested in watching playoffs, but the NBA just takes too long. Basically 2 months of watching these fucking blowouts until you finally get to the end when teams start to kind of buckle down and play. So,
like I said, we got to get fewer teams in there.
Yeah.
I mean, this is borderline ridiculous.
You have teams with losing records that are playing, and it's not even fun to watch.
Can't happen. And with the NHL playoffs, it looks like the Red Wings are getting closer and closer to making it back to the postseason. So that's kind of exciting. Under Stevie Y now, and from what I hear, good things are ahead for the Red Wings. So I guess maybe the Pistons, but no, let's not put the cart before the horse. All right, well, 2Ks, let's get this party started with some news. There really wasn't a whole lot of news this week aside from the start of the playing games for the NBA, as well as the start of the NHL season. But it wasn't a shock to anyone. Miss Caitlin Clark goes number 1 overall to the Indiana Fever, and kudos to her for handling probably the creepiest, weirdest interaction during a press conference I've ever seen. For those of you that don't know, a gentleman reporter from the Indianapolis Star, I believe, threw up her heart like this, and she gave it back, and she explained why. And he goes, "Well, if you keep giving me that, you and I will be friends." And then proceeds to write an article about it, saying how he just that's how he is. He's just a creepy motherfucker.
Mm-hmm.
He's just a creepy motherfucker. So
it was very uncomfortable to watch, and I cannot not imagine being in her shoes.
Exactly.
Just
didn't need it.
No,
didn't need it. But yeah, congrats to her. Congrats to the Fever. Some quick little quips here about her impact before she's even been on the floor, which I think is happening in like 2 weeks.
Mm-hmm.
WNBA season does not fuck around. They're ready to go. Their draft, we're rolling. We're rolling. But shortly after that really weird press conference, she announces that she signed with Nike, gets her signature shoe. From what I've heard, it's a $20 million contract, which is absolutely awesome. And I want to say that every home Fever game has been sold out. And before they were sold out, they were even face value were 3 times the amount of last year, as well as the vast majority of the Fever's away games have been sold out. Almost, or to the fact that some of the away stadium or some of the away teams have booked other stadiums for them to play in, because their normal attendance is like 4,500 to 7,000. They're upgrading to facilities that can accommodate up to 20,000, just to kind of everyone wants to see her. So, and there was even I was listening to Pardon My Take earlier today from their show on Friday, and they said that someone did a economic breakdown of like the percentage of income for the team as compared to the player's salary.
Mm-hmm.
And the percentage is actually greater in the WNBA as compared to the NBA. Now, stop and think about that for a second. Not picking on the girls at all. And if this is true, we all know the obnoxious salaries that these NBA players make. And if they're not making the same percentage or as great of a percentage of the intake that the girls do, just picture how much they would be making if they were percentage-wise making the same. Mm-hmm. So either way, I think Caitlin Clark's rookie contract is worth like $350,000, which to get eyes on the game is going to have a player like this be transcendent, to be dominant, to be must-watch TV, which is what she is. And not just her 2Ks, but some of the other girls in this draft. And if you look at some of the upcoming players that are still building their resumes, I honestly think the WNBA is probably the strongest and in the best hands that they've ever been.
Sure. Oh, absolutely.
So kudos on that. Kudos to we'll talk about NBA and NHL playoffs here probably in June when it actually matters. So any other news we need to touch on 2Ks?
I mean, we talked about him last week. What kind of just the kind of hot streak that Scotty Scheffler's on. Mm-hmm. 5-shot lead right now. The game was suspended because they had some pretty bad weather there today. I think he's got like 4 or 5 holes to finish up tomorrow, but has a 5-shot lead. Where we stand right now, I have to believe he's going to go on to win that easy.
If he didn't fall apart on Saturday or Sunday at the Masters, I don't care where they're playing. I don't care where they're playing.
Yeah, no, he's unbelievable. He's on a different level than any other golfer on the tour right now, and it's been fun to watch. This will be his 4th win in basically 4 weeks. I mean, I think he had 1 week off where he didn't play, but the last 4 tournaments that he's participated in, he's won.
Yep. You got to ride the hot hand.
Yeah, I mean, and
have to ride the hot
hand. Not just petty little tournaments. We're talking the Masters. We're talking the Players Championship. So it's been impressive to watch. It's fun to watch. He's incredible.
And I think it goes without saying, barring injury. I mean, I'm pretty sure you can figure on who's going to be the favorite leading into the next major. Mm-hmm. But so before we get out of the news, this is news. This is the text that Christian sent when I asked. I was like, "Hey, you coming?" He's like, "Yep, we're kind of getting the show together." And he sends a text that says, "I don't know, can't be there, can't be on the internet 2 weeks in a row. Internet might break." So yeah, his God forbid we're graced with Christian's presence 2 weeks in a row, 2K crew.
Well, and then I don't know who the guy was that got so upset about us talking about Mike Trout being a Hall of Famer, but yeah, fuck that guy. Like, what the fuck? I have no idea where that came from, why that just triggered him so bad, but I think that a lot of the baseball fans out there would be on our side on that one.
Yeah,
and if you're not, like, I don't feel like it needs to go to that level that it went to. So
it did escalate quite quickly.
Mm-hmm.
But it's kind of a saying that if you're not irritating people, you're not doing it the right way. Yeah. So, but for those that did not see this was because every week 2Ks I upload the show into a program. It cuts it up into 30 to 60 second little bites. Does the words all over it, and I think it ends up pretty cool.
Mm-hmm.
And we're getting almost 1,000 views on each one of these on Facebook Reels. And on Facebook Reels, this gentleman named Rich Cosman replied to, we were talking last week, if you remember, about if Mike Trout never played another inning, would he be a Hall of Famer? I think all three of us were in agreement that yes. When you dominate an entire decade, when you have multiple MVPs, could have had more. The only thing he's lacking is a World Series championship, but you can't win that by yourself. Right. I'm sorry. Mike Trout does not pitch. He can catch, he can hit, but it takes more than one person. But Mr. Cosman goes on to say, why don't you three just suck each other's dicks a little more, and you'll realize, he's not worthy. The bar has been lowered because of dickbags like you three. And I just replied, thanks, dude.
And I have been one of the people who have always said, like, I have given the Baseball Hall of Fame so much shit.
You have
since we started doing this, about how many guys are in the Hall of Fame that should not be in the Hall of Fame, and how it's been so watered down. But Mike Trout's not one of those guys. No. He's not a name that I would be arguing about getting in.
Yeah, and off camera, you and I have debated whether Dustin Pedroia is a Hall of Fame candidate. I believe he is. Obviously, I'm Red Sox biased, but you think he just doesn't quite make the cut. Now, I have a feeling if he had 5 more years in him, that might have kind of put you over the top with that. But Cody says, can't tell the story of baseball since 2010 without mentioning Trout. Absolutely. Absolutely. I mean, he was on pace to break almost every record.
Right.
So, yes, has the last handful of years been injury plagued? Yes. But to me, if you dominate a decade, you belong in the Hall of Fame.
Absolutely.
That in my opinion, that's more than just the Hall of Mediocre. I mean, you're entering into some rarefied air at that point. But enough of that shit, 2Ks. Let's move on to our top 5 position, top 5 players at each position. Do we want to start off with the most? Well, I was about ready to say the most obvious, but I don't think it's the most obvious. Where do you want to start with this? Do you want to save quarterback for last, or do you want to start off with it?
I think we just start off with it. Yeah.
Okay. What's your? Give me your number 5, and I'll give you my number 5.
Number 5, I am going with. See, this is where I think it's the hardest. It's picking 5 and 4. You start.
Okay. I've got Penix.
Yeah.
And the only other person that even came close to this list was Bo Nix. And when you look at him, Nix as compared to Penix, both have kind of been injury plagued. Both have been in college football since 1975. Both have had relative success at multiple programs, been through multiple coaches. But Penix, to me, just the way he delivers the ball, the way the ball comes out of his hand is what impresses me the most. He actually might be the most talented thrower in the whole draft.
Sure.
In the whole draft. So I've got him at 5.
All right. I'm going where I have them rated, where I think that they're going to go as far as NFL. I'm going, I mean, we're rating where you think they're going to go in the draft?
Yep.
Or they?
Yep.
Okay. Well, then I'll go Penix there too.
Okay. I've got JJ at 4.
Yeah, I agree.
Okay.
I don't agree, but I agree.
Yeah.
I don't agree. See, because that's where I like. If I'm rating it how I rate them, I'm probably saying I have Jaden Daniel at 5.
Okay. But yeah, this was kind of like where we think they would land in the draft type thing. We got a message from Andy here. It says, "Good evening, gentlemen from northern Montana." All right.
Yeah.
You visiting the Yellowstone folks up there?
Big Sky.
Yeah. Don't piss them off because you might not come back, player. This is where to me, I think I'm kind of flip-flopped here, where a lot of folks have Jaden Daniels going number 2. I have him at number 3. It has nothing to do with his value, has nothing to do with his 40, has nothing to do with pro days, anything. It has to do with, I honestly think he was upset that when the Commanders brought in pretty much everybody except Caleb Williams, he didn't get the one-on-one time that he was looking for. And I think he's going to pull, you could call it the spoiled brat complex, you can call it the Eli Manning insert name here, but I honestly think that it caused such a big hubbub that he's going to go from number 2 to number 3.
I'll switch that up. If we're going by a draft, I think Drake May goes 3.
And like I said, I've got Drake May number 2. I think if you fast forward 10 years from now, I think Drake May has a better resume in the NFL than Daniels does. But to start out the gate, I think Daniels is going to be a better quarterback from day one of training camp. But I think just because Drake May is he's like Josh Allen in my opinion, and it's going to take some time in a system to get him acclimated to actually get him to do what he's supposed to do.
My thing is, I think whoever out of these top 3 quarterbacks, whoever goes to the Patriots is going to have the worst.
Yeah,
is going to be the worst of the 3, regardless of who the name is.
Yeah.
I mean, that situation going into that, you have no receivers. You have, it is that team is in shambles to where Washington has some young studs at receiver. They have a ton of cap space. What can they do here? Even this next offseason, they went out and gotten better as far as this offseason in free agency. So I just think that Washington situation is so much better than New England that any quarterback that goes there, I think, is going to be the better quarterback for to live out that rookie contract.
Right. Newly to the channel here, 2Ks, Raider Biggs. Evening, fellas. Don't you think the age of Drake May's being overlooked? Could be. I also he is probably, obviously out of the guys we've talked about, but I can't remember who's older, Drake May, Penix, or Bo Nix, but it seems like Penix and Nix have been playing a lot longer.
Yeah.
But I think the fact that he's been relatively uninjured or hasn't been injured to the extent of like a Drake May. And another thing with Jalen Daniels is his weird ass elbow. I mean, to me that's just weird.
Sure,
that's just weird. And then of course number 1, Caleb Williams.
Yeah,
but I will say this: there's been too little talk. The whole him to the Bears is kind of calmed down, and I think a lot of people have just been, all right, cool. That's where he's going. And as a Bears fan, this scares the shit out of me. Just because, and now granted, I know it's a new regime. I know it's a different way of thinking.
Yeah.
We saw last year when they traded for Sweat. And this whole, it has been a different mentality,
sure,
which I enjoy, but I'm not going to believe it until I see it.
Yeah. No, and I kind of, I guess, think the opposite there. It's been quiet because I think it's so obvious. Like it's Caleb Williams has been the Bears pick all along, and I know that there was some timing there. There was some times where people were saying, Justin Fields is going to stay. Why don't you go with arguably the best player in the draft in Marvin Harrison? But then they go out and make the trade for Keenan Allen and kind of bolster that receiver room and get even better there. And that to me was when it was it's obvious. Caleb Williams is who they're going to go with. They're going to basically restart the rookie contract. And I think it's the right thing to do. Yeah. I really do. Now, obviously, Caleb Williams, what he did, if you go back a year in his Heisman season, unbelievable. I mean, everybody had him as the number 1 pick. Even if he would have left then, he probably was, would have been a number 1 pick. But then comes back and has kind of a rough season. That USC team was just dog shit all season long this year, and it wasn't just and it was a lot of it was the defense to blame. Where Caleb Williams is basically playing where he believes he has to be the hero and make heroic plays all around, and when you're playing that way, and it just didn't seem like he was comfortable, the way that he was the year prior to that. But the talent's there, the upside is there. And I mean, that's kind of what you do these days when you're drafting a quarterback is you're going to take a risk at upside over, the proven guy.
Yeah.
And there's probably some, there might be a quarterback or two in this draft that's a little bit more proven to him at this point, but his upside is just through the roof.
We've talked, kind of great lengths about J.J. McCarthy just because we live in Michigan. You're a diehard Michigan fan, and as far as, and regardless of what some of our 2K crew have said, that they just can't find, they just don't see the NFL pedigree in him. I disagree. I just honestly think it comes down to the fact he's boring. And boring quarterbacks win a lot of games. Yeah. You don't have to be Patrick Mahomes. You don't have to be Justin Herbert. You don't have to be Brett Favre. You don't have to be, insert name of, RG3. When RG3 was drafted, he was electric. Did the Redskins at the time destroy him? Yes, sure. 100%. Yeah. But he was electric.
That's what I think makes this draft so intriguing to watch, and why I'm so excited for it is there's plenty of players in this draft that are better players than these quarterbacks.
Oh yeah.
I mean, but what this league has proven is you need to have a quarterback if you're going to win, or if you're going to win for a long time, you have to have a quarterback. And that's why you're going to see, well, I believe you're going to see the first 4 picks of the draft are going to potentially going to be quarterbacks. I think if I'm predicting ahead, I think the first 3 picks go, and then I think it's the Chargers that make a deal. But I mean, it would not shock me at all if the first 4 picks are quarterbacks. But I think it's very safe to say that there's going to be 4 quarterbacks taken in the top 5 picks of the draft.
Raider says he's only 21 with 2 years of college and couldn't play high school or his high school senior year due to COVID. So I think what Raider is saying is that instead of being too old, he just doesn't have a whole lot of experience. Which that's going right to my point, Raider, is that he's probably the least polished out of all of these guys, but the upside is there. You just have to be patient, and you just have to. He needs the right system, a la Josh Allen. I think you could get similar production, not so much the running wise with Josh Allen, but
and didn't have the talent at receiver that these other guys had.
No, not even.
Jaden Daniels having 2, first round draft picks, potentially the best the best wide receiver on some people's board, the best wide receiver in the draft, having him. And and then you look at all the talent that Caleb Williams had, especially last season. So Drake May never had a receiver to that caliber.
No.
Also,
I can't remember a wide receiver from North Carolina with that good a pedigree It at least it pops out of my head. All right, 2Ks. Let's go to running back. We both have horses in this race, and when I use the word horses, I literally mean it. You're talking about bell cow running backs. Yes, did both of our guys kind of share time in the backfield? Yes, but they were the feature back, and I think even more this last year, we saw Corum get the vast majority of the snaps instead of even prior to last year before he got hurt. He was sharing the load a little bit more. So horses, yes. I think both these guys are horses. I think they deserve. Both of them are definitely in my top 5. But speaking of which, I'll kick it off. I'm putting my guy Estime at 5, just because his lack of speed during the combine and during his pro day was really shocking to me. Watching him live at Notre Dame looked like he was a whole lot faster than that. He was pulling away from people, whereas a lot of folks that are paid way more than we are to do this have him even lower than number 5. I looked at I think it was 4 different pages where they gave their breakdown for each individual position. Some of them he was around 7 to 9 just because of his combine performance. But to me, what I saw last year and even the year prior, and another big knock on him was, oh well, yeah, he was running behind one of the best offensive lines in the country. True, but so was Blake Corum.
Yeah,
and if we're being perfectly honest, Michigan's offensive line was way better than Notre Dame's offensive line.
Deeper for sure.
Yes. So if you're gonna hate on one, you got to hate on the other. But maybe it's a homer pick. Estime is my number 5, which if we're talking about the landscape of football this year, we're looking at probably late 2nd, early 3rd.
Sure.
Who do you got at number 5?
Number 5, I'm gonna go with Braylon Allen for Wisconsin. I like the size. Watching him in the combine, very athletic for as big as he is. And Wisconsin just has the tendency of putting very, very good running backs into the NFL. It seems like so.
I have Allen at 4.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah.
But yeah, you're 100% right. I mean, it seems like they continue to churn out just running back after running back after running back. But yeah, I told you my 4. Who's your 4?
Number 4, I'm gonna go with Jalen Wright from Tennessee.
Okay.
Just kind of all around very good, very good.
And that's what you need if you're looking to be a top back. You have to have all of it. You have to catch it out of the backfield. You got to you pretty much have to not only line up in the backfield, but line up outside the numbers.
Yeah.
And so, for that reason, I have him at number 3.
Yeah, to me, you look. I have Jalen right up there. The 40-yard time, I think he was right at the top. I think he might have had the 2nd fastest of all of them. And the way that the NFL has kind of gone with 2 running back systems, some teams even with 3. Speed is always king in the NFL. Every team is chasing speed, and that's what they want. And so anybody with that, I got to put them up there. Number 3, I'm gonna go with Blake Corum at number 3. I mean, obviously, the Michigan fan that I am, I've watched him a lot. What worries me a little bit with him is he was the workhorse at Michigan.
Yeah.
He carried the ball. He was asked to do a lot. And,
it was almost a lock for every game to pick him for 2+.
Right. And
two touchdown scores is what I'm trying
not exactly, very big guy. He's, short. He's strong as hell. And showed at the college level, not afraid to drop the shoulder and run through people. But that worries me a little bit as far as his NFL career goes, just because of all the miles that he does have on him. He's got great vision, does not have breakaway speed. He's not going to run away from defenses. And I think that's a little bit more valued in the NFL. Is they want guys that can run away, and he does not have that. Now he has great speed. He does catch the ball out of the backfield pretty well. I don't think you saw that at Michigan a whole lot because they didn't throw the ball a lot, but you did see it in the postseason where he made some big plays, catching the ball. So I think he's better than what people think there. But I have him at 3, and I guess what worries me the most is just all the miles that he has on being the workhorse for Michigan for the last 3 years.
Yeah, and just his work ethic, he's very humble. Comes from a very small town. I grew up hating Michigan, but I don't care who you're a fan of. You have to be a fan of this kid. So yeah, that's why he's at my number 2. Raider says Blake's going to be a steal. He's got a little Emmitt Smith in him. The smaller backs with good vision hide behind their blockers and get lost in the shuffle. I agree. And dude has tree trunks for legs.
He does.
Tree trunks for legs. Who's at your number 2, 2Ks?
Number 2, Trey Benson, Florida State. Just all around, has it all. Has all the characteristics of a running back in the NFL as far as the size, the durability. Has good speed. I just think he's a back that even though there's not a lot of teams in the NFL that are looking for every down backs and those opportunities, he has the characteristics of being able to do that, and that's why I have him valued higher than some of these other guys.
He was my number 6, so on same list, and my number 1, Jonathan Brooks from Texas.
Yep, same.
He seems to be everyone's number 1,
Yep.
and rightfully so. And it's, I mean, hell, Texas seems to be turning out some pretty damn good running backs here.
Yeah.
Bijan Robinson, now this kid.
Yeah.
You can go back to
Roshan Johnson, too, with the Bears. I mean, he was on that team with Bijan Robinson, so
yeah, it's not like I said with the and yeah, just the whole devaluing of the running back position, I think is still kind of is going to be, I'm not going to say cliche, but we saw the teams that can run the ball go far in the playoffs. If it wasn't for the Chiefs running game, they don't win they might not even win 1 or 2 games in the playoffs.
Mm-hmm.
They definitely don't win the Super Bowl without that running game. And Pacheco was what, a 6th or 7th round pick out of Rutgers, so they can be found everywhere. And if you're, I'm really excited. Speaking of Texas running backs and Bijan Robinson, the new coaching staff down in Atlanta, because he really wasn't utilized hardly at all last year. So no knock on Artie Smith, just that when you draft him that high, you're kind of, fans expect you to use him. Fantasy owners expect you to use him. So gonna be really excited to see how that pans out. Raider says, and that's an honest opinion from a Notre Dame fan. Me too, dude. Me too. All right, you want to tackle wide receivers? I think this to me
is the most exciting one.
Yeah. Number 5, I've got Adonai Mitchell from Texas. To me, there's the 3 studs, and then it gets super close. Like the top 3 are really close, and then there's a gap, and then there's probably 6 or 7 dudes that could go in any order. So picking 3, 4. Even my number 4, I'm very, very. He's not quite with the top 3, but I do think that. I mean, there probably could be 7 or 8 or 9 wide receivers go in this in the first round this year, because we've and again, getting these rookie receivers are coming out of college, probably the most polished on any position on the field. Just plug and play. So when teams get a chance, when they can get a potential superstar in the first round in the receiver position, get him locked into that rookie contract, and then kind of see what happens. It's not financially, it's not a bad move, because we're seeing kind of middle of the road wide receivers now getting $20 million a year. So, but yeah, I've got Mitchell out of Texas at number 5.
Yeah, I agree. I got Mitchell at number 5 also.
And number 4 is one of the guys from LSU, Brian Thomas Jr., which I said he solidifies that number 4 spot for me. Maybe it was partially because you can't double him and Neighbors at the same time. I think that obviously they worked well together. They pretty much, those 2 guys won the Heisman for Daniels this year. If one or both of those guys aren't there, I honestly think Daniels is just an average quarterback. But throw a little Brian Kelly shade here. He said if he ever got a Heisman winning quarterback, it'd be national championship easy. Well, you know what, BK? Maybe if you kept that fake ass Southern accent, you might have won one. But who's your number 4 2Ks?
Same. Brian Thomas Jr. Yep.
Number 3, I've got Mr. Rome Odunze.
We're gonna have the same list, it looks like.
Neighbors at number 2, and Maserati Mav at number 1.
Yep. Which has been shocking to me that and who knows what to believe but these last couple of weeks there's been a lot of people that have had Neighbors and seem to believe that there's teams that have Neighbors ahead of Marvin Harrison going into this draft, and
just because he's faster, he can take the top off, whereas a lot of folks don't think Marvin Harrison Jr. can do that.
Yeah,
I don't care.
Marvin Harrison is like, if somebody asked you to draw a picture of a wide receiver and that's going to be very successful in the NFL, Marvin Harrison Jr. is like he's like the picture that you would see. He just has every characteristic of a great wide receiver. Yeah,
he's an avatar. He looks like one of the things off the movie Avatar. He's got a long neck, braids, very tall. The only thing is he's not blue. That's the only thing that separates him. But yeah, he is the most. Again, if he were able to come out last year, he would be the first wide receiver taken, hands down. And if he would have stayed in college this year, he would be the number 1 wide receiver to come out next year. So to me, it really doesn't matter. This is one I think people are trying to overthink this. I think that they're trying to nitpick it to the point where they're just blowing everything way out of proportion. And if you look at the season that Harrison Jr. had without CJ Stroud this year, to me that makes it even more of a slam dunk than any one of these guys on the list, because even Mitchell from Texas, he had studs thrown to him, and that the Ohio State quarterback can't even remember his name. So it just goes to show you. Raiders says Avatari Marv. Love it. Love it. Well, 2Ks, let's go to edge rusher here. This one was kind of hard because I didn't know. Like I said, the defensive prowess in this draft is not that exciting. There's some really interesting names, and especially when it comes to the corner spot. But let's not get to that yet. But edge rusher, I got a kid out of UCLA. I'm going to butcher his name. Latu. Oh, perfect. Nailed it. I'll just run through my top 5 for you here real quick. I got Chop Robinson out of Penn State, Chris Braswell out of Alabama, Jared Verse out of FSU, and kind of the one that's the leader in the clubhouse is Dallas Turner from Alabama. Now, what's kind of weird in this draft, 2Ks, is that we're accustomed to seeing Nick Saban's defense being just on show for the draft, and we're kind of seeing that, but to me it seems like it's a little sparse as compared to the last few years. Now, for you had 18 dudes, I believe it was, go to the combine. So if you're watching the draft and you're taking a shot every time a Michigan player is drafted, you should be thankful it's multiple days.
Michigan's very deep in this draft, not so top heavy, and like I thought the 2 best teams in college football last year were Michigan and Alabama. When they played against each other in the Rose Bowl, that was necessarily, I thought, kind of whoever wins that game goes on and wins the national championship.
Yeah,
I thought Alabama was the most, as far as just like top heavy, they were the most talented team in college football. Michigan was just the deepest team. Yeah. They were the team that had the experience. They were the team that had a lot of guys that came back. It meant a lot to them. And I think that experience kind of worked the more talented team in that game when it came down to the end. But as far as
speaking of which,
some of these top end players that have, I mean, Dallas Turner to me is the best defensive player in this draft.
Oh, hands down. But one thing I did forget in the news segment here, 2K, is a shout out to Jim Harbaugh's right bicep.
Yeah,
manned up and got the Michigan M and 15-0. Love it. But yeah, like I said, it's not out of the realm to see 2 edge rushers from Alabama or 2 insert, defensive position. Alabama has 2 of the top 5 going into the draft, but there's usually some stud that grabs the headline, some stud that moves the needle. And yes, edge rushers usually do move the needle very, very rapidly. But and yes, this is the last, kind of Nick Saban draft, of course, but we're going to see his players for the next, 1-2 years, maybe even 3. So yeah, that's my list, 2Ks. What do you got?
I got Marshawn Nealand at number 5, Western Michigan. defensive.
I like it. He was ranked 7 or 8 on a lot of the lists that I was looking at.
Number 4, I'm going Jared Verse from Florida State. Number 3, Chop Robinson, Penn State. Ladu, number 2, UCLA, and then number 1, to me, I think I already said it. I think he's the best defensive player in the draft, going Dallas Turner.
Mm-hmm. Well, let's move to corner here real quick. 2Ks, and we'll do the same thing. I'll give you my top 5, and then you lay yours on me. I've got Terrain Arnold from Alabama, Kool-Aid, Nate Wiggins from Clemson, Quentin Mitchell from Toledo, showing some MAC love here, and probably the most polarizing player in the whole entire draft, Mr. Cooper DeJean out of Iowa. I don't think there's been more. Granted, he was hurt, which kind of leads into a lot of the hubbub or the or kind of the whirlwind, I guess, around it. But he came back, broke his leg. I believe it was like his fibula or something, and had a great pro day. He's putting together quite a very good resume here at Iowa. But the one thing that stands out, which is obvious, is he's white.
Mm-hmm.
And everyone's saying, well, if he is drafted as a corner, he'll be moved to safety and this and that. And to me, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. But to be the on the vast majority of the list that I looked at, he was the top prospect.
Mm-hmm.
And so, like I said, if he wouldn't have broken his leg, and I'm not trying to bring up race, but in this particular situation, it's not often you see a white corner.
Mm-hmm.
Shout out Jason Sehorn. I think that's the last one. But yeah, I honestly think it's awesome. Like I said, you got Big Ten love and MAC love at the top of this list. Where are you going with number 5, 2Ks?
Number 5, this is going to be my homer pick out of all of them. I know a lot of other people probably have him lower on the list, but for me, watched him all those years at Michigan, I'm putting Mikey Sanderstrill at number 5.
He was 6 or 7 in a lot of
a little undersized, played a lot of different positions. He started as a wide receiver at the University of Michigan. Then they moved him over to the defensive side of the ball. And to me, that was the best defense in college football last year. There is a lot of players that are going to be drafted here this next weekend from that defense. And to me, he was the most important player on that defense for them. Things that he could do. He's just a winner. He just knows how to win games. And, what we're kind of seeing in the NFL here in recent years, especially with how good offenses are, how good receivers are in the NFL, it's more important, I think, now to have that nickel corner than it is to have a safety that can, step up in the box. And not a lot of teams are running the football a whole lot. And so if you have a dominant nickel that you can throw in there, and that's what Sanderstrill is that nickel corner guy. That's why I have him on my list I'm putting him at number 5. Number 4, I'm going to go with Cooper DeJean from Iowa. Number 3, I'm going to go Nate Wiggins from Clemson. Number 2, I have Quinyon Mitchell from Toledo. And number 1, I have Terrion Arnold from Alabama.
Gotcha. So our lists were all very similar. So we do have one other comment here from Mr. Braisman. Cody says, was supposed to be Chop, but he fell off kind of this season. Yeah, and that whole Penn State team did, unfortunately. Did the normal Penn State thing beat teams that they really should have, and then when it came down to the big games, just didn't.
Kind of,
James Franklin.
Yeah, that's because James Franklin's a bitch. But yeah, that's what he does every year.
He also says that Mikey will have a better pro career than Peppers did.
I agree.
And the one, let me see if I still have this list up here, 2Ks. The one that will, no, I do not. Whoops. The was it Roman Wilson? You're the receiver from Michigan. Mm-hmm. When I was putting together this receiver list, he was actually about 7 or 8, and said that he would be a very, very coach's dream, is what a lot of the so-called experts were calling him at the wide receiver position.
Yeah. And there's a lot of things I think that can happen there with the receiver position from like 7 on. But those top ones, You know, and then kind of with Xavier Worthy, what he did as far as his 40 time at the combine. Teams are always looking for speed, so I think he kind of bumps up there. Another name from Keon Coleman, Florida State, came from Michigan State, big receiver, possession guy that teams are. I think he's going to be a guy that could potentially.
He was Michigan State's entire offense.
Yeah, and for a very good Florida State offense last year, especially when Travis was still healthy at quarterback. Keon Coleman was his guy, and Troy Franklin from Oregon. I mean, he just caught a shit ton of passes. Obviously, the other two wide receivers from Washington, McMillan and Polk. I mean that was a loaded receiver classroom there on that Washington team. And then you have McConkey from Georgia, who just finds, he always seemed to be open, always seemed to make big plays.
That's funny you say that, because Jeff says McConkey, my number 4 receiver.
Yeah, there's a lot of guys that you can make an argument for, and it's hard to argue it.
I just think Jeff likes saying McConkey. All right, 2Ks, let's switch gears now that we've given you our kind of position by position breakdown. Let's go to our mock draft. Like I told you, 2K crew, we're not going to bore you with all 32. We're going to do the top 10. If I can figure out where the hell I wrote it. Let's do a quick recap here. I wrote down the top 15, the order for top 15. Because I do have a couple trades in here, which there's no way in hell you can expect to predict all of these trades.
Sure.
Because a lot of times even the insiders don't know. And for those of you that do bet on the draft order, you can kind of, which again leads me to why I think Drake May is going second over Daniels. If you look at all of the books, those two are almost neck and neck to be taken number 2. So that there's something there. So keep an eye if you do bet the draft. And keep in mind, if you do, I believe they shut the betting down 5 minutes prior to the pick going out, just so they can kind of regulate it better. So if you are planning on doing that, just a quick betting tip here. But the draft order is Bears number 1, Commanders number 2, Pats 3, Cards 4, Chargers 5, Giants 6, Titans 7, Falcons 8, Bears 9, Jets 10, Vikings 11, Broncos 12, Raiders 13, Saints 14, Colts 15. Now let's talk about some of the trade rumors so far, 2Ks. Starting off with the Colts, there's a rumor, aside from just what Pat McAfee's been saying, that Colts are going to try to trade up to number 4, possibly number 5, to get Marvin Harrison Jr. Whether that's true or not, I don't know, but that is one of the rumors. I don't believe it, but it's definitely possible. I have a feeling that they just don't have enough to get there. They just don't have enough to get there. Just frankly, going 10 spots in the draft, I think you're mortgaging your. Yes. Would you be mortgaging your future on the best player in the draft? Yes, but is it that important to your team to get that? I don't believe so.
Well, there's too many teams that are hunting quarterback and those teams that are hunting quarterback have more draft capital to offer, to where I think it makes it hard for the Colts to be able to get up there.
Yeah. Now, if they were 6 or 7, moving up that amount, I could see that. But where it sits right now, I just can't see it. There's been rumors that the Raiders are trying to trade up for Michael Penix Jr. I think that would be quite the stretch. I think if they're drafting at 13, I think the likelihood of Penix dropping to them at 13, if that's the way they want to go, I think it'll be there. There's been quite a few rumors about the Bears trading out of that number 9 spot. Not so sure how I feel about that. Just kind of preview it. I do not have them drafting out or trading out of number 9. And then, when it comes to the Cards and the Chargers, it seems like those picks are open for business. Now, who is going to accept that business? I think that's where the intrigue lies, if you will. But I've got Caleb Williams going number 1.
Same.
Like I said, even though I won't believe it till Thursday.
Mm-hmm.
I won't believe it till Thursday. I've got the Commanders taking Drake May, just because, like I've already explained, could be completely wrong, but I'm actually for once in probably since the RG3 era in Washington, I think it's kind of the most intriguing time to be a Washington fan, just because of the new owners, the new regime that's in there, and hopefully they can get some rolling. Jeff also says you can get Penix in the second. Agreed. That getting him anywhere in the first, I think, is a reach. You've got Jaden Daniels going here.
Yep.
Okay. Pats. I've got Jaden Daniels going to the Pats.
Yeah, Drake May going 3.
And at pick 4, I have the Giants trading with the Cardinals to get McCarthy.
I have the Vikings trading their both first round picks to move up to number 4 with the Cardinals, and that's where the Vikings select JJ McCarthy.
Which I actually would. I'm as a fan, I want to see that more than the Giants. It's just the Giants are so less capital to go up from 6 to 4. I think that's the more likely situation. As a fan, yes, I would. That would be the ultimate. Oh, you can't pass. Okay, throw it to Justin Jefferson 15 times a game. 15 times a game. Go ahead and do it. I got the Chargers staying put and taking Marvin Harrison Jr. They need wide receivers, something fierce.
I agree. I have the Chargers taking Marvin Harrison Jr.
And could you imagine Maserati? Not only with Justin Herbert, but Jim Harbaugh. And now this is the intrigue if they do stand pat. I'm curious to see how Harbaugh handles this, because yes, this team needs pass catchers in the worst way possible. Would it make sense to go out and get the first one, or the best one out of them? Yeah. But what is traditionally Harbaugh's offense is built on beefy offensive line, run and pound the ball. But when you've paid your face of your franchise in Justin Herbert already, I think you want to capitalize on that. Yes, do they need to run the ball? Sure. But yeah, there was pretty much a house cleaning with that whole Chargers offense. And Jeff's backing me up on this one. He says Harbaugh taking a tackle, in my opinion, loves the run game, which this would be, if he does follow that, would be a Joe Alt situation from Notre Dame. Plug him in there perfectly. I think he would be an excellent choice for the Chargers, but with the depth at wide receiver, you could definitely go elsewhere with this. But
I don't think there's any way that he walks out of this with where he's at without taking one of these receivers, and he's gonna potentially have the opportunity to take the best receiver, arguably the best player in the draft. If things go to where a team, regardless of what team, moves up to that 4th spot to take JJ McCarthy, that leaves, that's the best case scenario to me for Harbaugh, and he walks away with whatever receiver he wants out of those guys. He gets to be the first one to pick out of any of those receivers, and I don't think there's any way. I understand he wants to run the football and he wants offensive linemen, but you only get opportunities at generational talent at wide receiver and every once in a while, and you cannot pass up if you have the opportunity to take one here,
especially in today's NFL.
There has to be there, and you mentioned the Colts earlier, and there's probably going to be other teams that want to move up also to take a crack at one of these wide receivers. So there has to be somebody offering you a trade that just completely blows you away to where you move off of taking one of these guys.
Yeah, and could you imagine if Harbaugh does go the offensive lineman route, especially like in my scenario where I have the Giants moving up and the Cards moving down? the Cards are in the catbird seat now
Mm-hmm.
because there's going to be a flurry of activity for everyone below them wanting to come up and get Marvin Harrison Jr. So they could, if that's what happens, the Cards could get 3.
I mean, that's
4 first round.
That's why I have the Vikings need a quarterback. The Vikings are I think are in win now mode.
They have to be.
They and so that and they have the best package. They have 2 first round picks that you can offer up to get up there, and that's why I have the Vikings being the team that moves up. To me, I mean, there's 2 teams that are going to benefit off this the most. It's going to be the Cardinals, and it's going to be Jim Harbaugh and the Chargers, because he's going to be able to sit back and he's going to be answering a lot of phone calls of teams wanting to move up.
Oh yeah,
and Arizona's going to be answering even more.
Oh yeah,
of teams wanting to move up.
Yeah, it's who's going to tickle the balls the best? Who's going to tickle the balls the best? Did you give me who the Chargers take? Are you taking?
I think the Chargers take Marvin Harrison here.
In my scenario, I've got the Cards picking 6, and they're taking Adunze to go with that offense, and hopefully a full healthy year of Kyler.
So I have the Giants picking at 6, and I think they take Neighbors.
Okay. I have the Titans staying put and taking Joe Alt. I do not think Will Levis is the answer there, but regardless of who's playing quarterback, they need offensive line help. Probably the worst out of anyone that we've just talked about, especially with the Derrick Henry not being there. If Will Levis is going to be the guy, he needs to stand upright. So I think that's kind of a no-brainer pick there.
I agree. I have Alt going to the Titans.
Falcons, I've got Dallas Turner.
First defensive player. I agree. I have Dallas Turner going there also.
And like you said, he's by far the best defensive prospect in this draft. Whereas if it weren't so top heavy here with offense and just the need for quarterbacks, not even we're going to get an upgrade. No, they absolutely need quarterbacks. Aside from the Giants that I mentioned, they have Danny Dimes under contract. They just paid him. So, but yeah, we're a lot of other drafts you might see Turner be 3 or 4. For the Falcons to get him at 8, I think is kind of a steal. But I've got, like I said, I have the Bears staying pat here at 9. I have him taking Neighbors here at this point. And I think if Neighbors makes it to 9, I think that's kind of a steal.
Yeah, I have I mean, there could be trades here. Who knows what's going to go down with this? I'm just, for the sake of making it easy, I'm having the Bears stay in pat too. You have them taking Neighbors. I obviously already have Neighbors off the board, so I think the Bears take Adunze here. Which is, I think either one of them is a fucking steal at 9.
As a Bears fan, I would not be disappointed with either one. And lastly, to wrap up our top 10 here, this is another one that's been kind of highly contested as a trade spot here. I think the Jets stay put, and we see Brock Bowers come off at number 10.
Yeah, I like that, and I think that's a very, very good possibility for them. I think the Jets stay there, and I think that they go offensive line and draft a tackle. And I'm going to go with that Fasciano or from Penn State tackle.
Yeah, and especially if Joe Alt's still on the board at this point, to me that's a no-brainer.
Yeah. To me, I don't think there's any way that Alt makes it past Tennessee.
No, I don't either. Or maybe the Jets trade up. Who knows? But even with the potency at which that Jets offense has the potential to be, if this is, I mean, Brock Bowers is head and shoulders above every tight end in this draft. And he seems to fit perfectly into that Jets offense. And I think that would make them even more explosive, especially in an AFC where you see the vast majority of the good teams, 2Ks, have a dominant tight end. And Bowers has been that guy for the past 2 years. So that's where, to me, and again, this would be the first kind of real draft with Aaron Rodgers, because everything happened kind of, it was pre-draft last year, but where they can kind of take back, Aaron, what do you want?
Mm-hmm.
What do you want? They have a badass running back. They have badass receivers. They've beefed up the offensive line via free agency, which was the number one priority. And the defense is fantastic. So to me, this is kind of a luxury of riches at this point. And for a talent like that, I think it's hard to pass that up right now. And you haven't taken this your second offensive lineman?
Yep.
All right.
Oh, jeez.
Watching the Rangers Braves game, which started out the Braves are up 3-0. Now the Rangers are up 6-3. I have a feeling this is Jeff. He says, as a Bears fan, a wide receiver is shiny, but we need an edge opposite Montez Sweat. Right now we have Dominique Robinson. That number 9 spot is glamorous with this draft. Could stay and get a stud, or trade down three to 5 spots and get a stud and more draft capital. I agree. But yes, it would be very nice to have that shiny new toy for Caleb to play with right out the gate.
Mm-hmm.
Right out the gate. Fingers crossed. If they're both successful, they can play their whole careers together. That's kind of where I'm leaning with it. But I would not be opposed to trading back and getting more draft picks, because there are more holes in this team that need to be filled. In addition to wide receivers. So, Jeff, you are completely right, and I wouldn't be opposed with either one. 2Ks. Is there anything else we need to? I'm very excited for Thursday.
Yeah.
I'm very excited for Thursday. Not only for the draft itself, but I'm really interested to see kind of what Pat McAfee has in store now that he's with ESPN this year. Last year I had Red Panda, the bowl flipping unicyclist. So yeah, it's going to be interesting to see. It's hard for me because I love watching the traditional ESPN draft, but I've always got my phone or my iPad with Pat going on, just because you never know what the hell he's going to do. So yeah, 2K crew, I can't wait. Hopefully, just as a quick aside, 2Ks, who do you have your Cowboys taken?
I haven't even. They didn't do shit this offseason.
No.
So I actually talked to plenty of people in my life and talked to a lot of Lions fans and asked if it was okay if I just act like I've never been a Cowboys fan and just going to be a Lions fan now.
Yeah, okay.
That's kind of where I'm at right now.
You heard it here first, folks. 2K is officially jumping on the Lions bandwagon, and I did it last year.
I've always been a fan of.
It was a lot of fun.
Just never my favorite team. I'm so fucking tired of seeing Mike McCarthy's fucking ass on that sideline, and I'm so fucking tired of the same shit. They talk you into that they're gonna be great every single year.
Jerry Jones is a hell of a salesman, dude.
Yeah, I'm fucking tired of him.
He's a hell of a salesman.
They'll make the playoffs again because they do that every year, and then they'll play against somebody and they'll get their fucking ass kicked, and that's what typically happens every single season with them. And then we've had opportunities to go out and hire, take a run at hiring some different coaches these last couple of years, especially big names being available, obviously this year. And we're gonna run another fucking season with McCarthy's dumbass. And
Cody says, "Hell yeah, 2K's lost it." Now, what would be interesting is if just a complete sidelight here, things don't go well right out the gate for Mr. McCarthy. How short of a leash does he have? And
at that point, fucking keep him for the season. I hate that idea of getting rid of somebody in the middle of the season. Like, it's fucking over.
But get Bill Belichick in.
Why the fuck didn't we try it?
That I don't know.
I mean, Jerry, you ain't got much time left, brother. So, I mean, you're gonna fucking ride these last few years out with this dipshit.
Him and Belichick can drink Metamucil together. Just get a big vat of it. All right, 2K crew, we'll let you out of here on that. Everyone have a great week. Everyone have a good time on Thursday. Get in the group and share your draft or your betting successes or losses. Yeah, let's everyone have a day. And as always, Jim Rome, we're coming for you.